Hello and welcome to this video log. I'm John Cassanet, and today we will be visiting the Temple of Luxor, located on the east bank of the Nile River in Luxor, Egypt, anciently known as the city of Thebes. The Temple of Luxor has these large pylons or walls at the front of the temple, which are a three-dimensional representation of the hieroglyph Akhet, which means the mountains of the horizon between which the sun rose each day. To pass between the twin towers was to pass into the realm of the gods. You saw these on my first video log from the Temple of Medinet Habu Temple, which I did on January 10th of 2025. The obelisk of Ramses II is located in front of the pylons. It's offset there because there actually used to be two of them. One of them is in Paris at this point. The Luxor Temple was built between 1550 and 1070 BC. It was dedicated to the Theban triad Amun, his consort or wife Mut, how'd you like a name like that, and their son Khonsu. It is known in Egyptian as Epet Reset, which is the southern sanctuary. It was one of two primary temples on the east bank, the other being Karnak, which I described in my video log that was posted on December 27, 2024. Between them and linking them is the Avenue of the Sphinxes that I'll talk about some more at the end of this video log. Unlike other temples in Thebes, the Luxor Temple is not dedicated to a cult god or deified pharaoh. It is dedicated to the rejuvenation of kingship. Many pharaohs have been crowned here either in reality or conceptually. Alexander the Great actually claimed that he was crowned at Luxor, but the reality is he probably never traveled south of Memphis, which is the modern city of Giza near Cairo. Chapels were built at the rear of this temple during the 18th dynasty and by Alexander the Great. Other parts of the temple were built by Tutankhamun, Ramses II, and Imhotep III. During the Roman era, the temple was a legendary fortress and home of the Roman government. There's a chapel inside the Luxor Temple originally dedicated to the goddess Mut, but this was transformed into a cult chapel and later actually into a Christian church. So take a look at some of the scenery here in the temple, and then we'll get a look at the chapels that I'm describing in a moment. Here are the telltale signs of Christianity in the Luxor Temple, beginning with this nave that is decorated with the images of saints. All these are pretty typical of Christian images and architecture from the Middle Ages. There's still a working mosque that exists within the temple, and you can see the minaret in this photograph. From about the Middle Ages, the population of Luxor settled around the south end of the temple, which is shown here in these images that you're now looking at. You can see some of the modern city right here against the walls of the temple. As a result of the settlement at Luxor, there were centuries of rubble that accumulated in and around and on the temple that created an artificial hill that was 50 feet high. The rubbish buried about 3/4 of the temple. These photographs depict just how much excavation had to be done to bring it to its current condition that you see today. We're now looking at the Avenue of the Sphinxes, also known as the Path of God, which is a straight line of sphinxes for about 2,700 meters or 8,900 feet between the Luxor Temple and the Temple of Karnak. It's lined with 1,060 statues of rams, chrysophinxes, and androsphinxes. So not all sphinxes are created equal. This avenue also had to be excavated in much the same way that the temple had to be excavated. Construction of the avenue began with Queen Hatshepsut in 1473 to 1458 BC. As I mentioned, there are three types of sphinxes. One is the ram sphinx, then you have the chrysosphinx, and the third one is the androsphinx, so not all sphinxes are created equal. The first group of sphinxes was discovered in 1949. In the remainder of this video log, we'll look at the Avenue of the Sphinxes and some of the old photographs that show the excavation. This is my last video log from the country of Egypt with its wonderful temples and ancient structures. After a beautiful sunset on the Nile, we'll be headed tomorrow for the country of Turkey for lots more sights and sounds. I'll see you there on Unveiling Jesus Christ.